Do old people watch animated films? Was the bold and slightly goofy question that I typed into Google before this episode, which led me to this graph. Long story short, if you consider people over the age of 44 old, no. Is this graph accurate? I have no idea. But from my own experience, younger people are not only watching animated films, but very verbal about it.
Garugamesh! Oh yeah! I love anime!
Yeah. And manga!
And while this divide in movie-watching culture will wither away like all the people over 44, I'd like to partially jump that gap and convince an older audience that animated films can tell just as compelling a story, if not more. Firstly, I'd like to give a shout out to my nephew for having the balls to take the absolute worst possible approach to this idea. Little man, 8 years old, convinced my dad to skip all other animated media and jump straight to shonen anime, specifically Demon Slayer. My dad promptly walked away from the show after the first episode, with his take being, quote, "It was visually stimulating at times, but the plot sucked." A hot take to be sure, but I stand by it as well. If you wanted to start with something that's only the length of a single movie, and animated, I'd choose something from today's director, Satoshi Kon. His name and work may seem familiar if you're a fan of other filmmaking YouTube channels like Every Frame a Painting, as his work is often referenced as inspiration to a bunch of other artists, notably Guillermo del Toro. So, if you'd like a more in-depth dive into his movies than what I provide here, I strongly recommend trying their video on Satoshi Kon, which I'll leave in the description. Satoshi was a Japanese film director, animator, and screenwriter who made his directorial debut with an OVA episode of another shonen anime, JoJo's Bizarre Adventure. While his work following was undoubtedly unique and fantastical, the span of his work is unfortunately short, as he sadly passed away in 2010 from pancreatic cancer. In his legacy, he left only 6 animations, with 4 of them being full-length animated movies. From those 4, I chose to watch Perfect Blue, Millennium Actress, and Paprika. After watching the 3, I came to an understanding why his work has such a unique cult following. The pacing and craftsmanship of the story feels entirely unique and can hardly be compared to even traditional films. There are times where the films feel like they step on their own feet, with scenes abruptly transitioning or holding on longer than they should, but it always seems to work. The almost goofy walk that the films choose to take are always useful, and it's almost a character of its own. Satoshi Kon explains this pacing in an interview following his completion of his first feature-length film, Perfect Blue.
思うんですけれども、
そうですね、いや作画だけ力を入れるとかっていうことではないと思うんですけど、もう少しこのシーンはすごいぞとか、この作画を見ろっていうそのやり方じゃなくて、作品の流れの中で、見れたらいいなという80分で、なんか一つのことを言いたいなっていう、ついなんかでその派手な作画とかに行ってしまいがちなことがよくあったりするんですけど、まあ今回はそういうことよりも全体の流れとか、そっちの方を重点的にやってましたけどね。
パッパッパッパッという感じで、あ、これは現実だったんだ、あれそうじゃないのかなっていうのを結構見てて考えたんですけども。
そうですね、そういうのはシナリオの段階から、そういうのが売りというか、まあもうちょっとね、最初のそのシナリオだったり、最初に考えたコンテではもっとなんか説明的なっていうか分かりやすく見せなきゃと思ってたところがあったんですけど、まあいろいろ諸般の事情で、当初予定したものをなくすとかね、そういったことで、多少分かりにくくなってよかったなと。
Animation generally is what I believe to be the peak of human storytelling, as it combines the same arts and creativity of traditional film, but must be entirely crafted from scratch, leaving more room for greatness or for failure in its execution. In Satoshi Kon's work, I only see greatness. The world, the characters, the story, nothing ever feels like it falls short of the other. Satoshi Kon truly was in a bracket of his own, bending fantasy, reality, time, and space around characters who are often too focused on reaching their goal to pause at the strangeness around them, leaving the audience with just as little time. In doing so, he holds the characters and audience alike captive in the film's otherworldliness, and for his efforts he shall forever be known as a fantastic director. May he rest in peace. If you'd like to watch his films, they're available for rent or purchase on Amazon. but if possible, I'd recommend you get your hands on an educational copy to avoid that. This video was made possible by Satoshi Kon and the people at Madhouse Animation Studios who worked on his films. I'm Tyler Douglas. Thanks for watching.